What is up? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about this, and whether or not this can truly save Kodak. Now this, of course, is the Kodak Charmera. It is a digital camera released by Reto in a special licensing agreement with Kodak. They've done stuff with Kodak before. The Ektar H35 comes to mind, the H35N. H35 is a fine camera. This is where I really think they set themselves apart, and I feel like it's truly a testament to the Kodak brand and can really revitalize it in the modern day. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but I want to first focus on Kodak. Eastman Kodak, not Kodak Alaris. Eastman Kodak is the company out of Rochester producing all kinds of different stuff. They've been in the news a lot due to the Q2 quarterly financial results. Not super awesome stuff, and a lot of people misinterpreted some of the information as a lot more negative than it actually was. And because of that, the stock has kind of dropped a little bit. It's been on the increase, but still, a lot of people are concerned about Kodak's success as a business. Now, I unfortunately spend a lot of time looking at things like this and reading very interesting and super entertaining reports about things. So I know that Kodak is investing a lot more time and money, resources into developing its advanced chemical production arm of its business, primarily in domestic production of pharmaceutical stuff, medicinal things, so on and so forth, as well as recently their partnership with another company to produce electrodes. All good and dandy. As we go into the future with oncoming tariffs and potentially fragmented international relationships, domestic production of these things is going to be vital if we're going to continue to maintain ourselves as a society. So Kodak has positioned itself in a very good place. Hopefully have enough to pay off all the debts and the loans and stuff. Financially, they should be sound. Let's talk about the less important and potentially more interesting component, which is the metaphysical nature of Kodak. What is Kodak? Who is Kodak? It's the real question. Now, if we look back at the past of Kodak, the beginning, the inception of Kodak, it's all about pictures, taking photos and stuff like that. And to an extent, it was about accessibility. Now, you could argue that the hope was to make it accessible in order to create a monopolized market in which they would have 100% of market share. People would rely on them solely for film development and for cameras. And that's a pretty fair argument. If you look at their business practices, if you look at all the advertising, a little bit scammy, but the general idea was to create experiences for average consumers, whether that was creating easier types of film to load into a camera, i.e. the 126 cartridges, i.e. the 110 cartridges, the APS cartridges, or the Advantix cartridges. Any of these things, even the disc film, which I don't know why we did that, but that was the thing that happened. And Kodak spearheaded that, as well as all these other projects, to make it easier for people to use cameras. You look back at the original Kodak, and it was a box that had film preloaded in it. You would buy it, and then you'd send it out. They'd take the film out, they'd develop it, they'd put new film in, they send it back to you. All of the Kodak Fun Savers, all of those things, all of these are predicated around making it accessible for general audiences. And the pricing was also kind of compared to that. It was not the most expensive thing in the world, it's not the most affordable thing in the world, but it was right there where if you save up, pinch a few pennies, you can afford to capture these memories. The other thing they did was develop more and more film. It really worked on color science and was able to create and produce higher quality film. So if you had a bit more cha-ching in the bank, you could afford more expensive film. But if you didn't, if you were just, going on vacation or hanging out with your friends, there were still avenues in which you could preserve those memories no matter where you were at on the price point. That's great, right? Now, as we live in the present day, most people have a camera on their phone. It's relatively competent that they take with them pretty much anywhere. Some people have a digital camera as well that they take with them everywhere. The market share has definitely shifted from like 100% film consumers to now a splintering of probably 100% phone users, and then small samples within that use film or might use digital or a combination of both and their phone. So cameras that Kodak has released recently, such as the M35 and the H35, sensible to a degree that they don't cost a lot to produce. They're easy to use and accessible. However, there's the Achilles heel that they do use film. Now this is fine because I like shooting film, but it is a bit of a hard pitch to make to spend $17 or $50 on one of these cameras and then spend an additional, $10, $15 on film, and then an additional $20 sometimes on developing, and then it's going to take a couple of weeks. Well, I could just get the Cam Snap and take photos with that, or I could just use my phone, or I could just get a disposable camera, or I could, splurge, spend a little bit more money and get an actual SLR. There are definitely more options out there than there were previously, and the market is definitely much more competitive than it ever has been. Kind of puts you in a weird spot, especially if you are Kodak, especially if you are kind of dealing with some limited funds in order to create more hype, create more interest in this market that is seemingly diminished. That's where the Charmera comes in, because not only does this kind of create its own market, but it also appeals to a wider audience. And I think that the sales thus far of this are very indicative of its success in that realm. I'm going to look at a few key components to this. One, the price. $30 plus like $8 for shipping, I think it was. For a little digital camera, that's not terrible. Like, it's not the best thing in the world, but compared to a lot of other things out there in the market, that's a pretty good deal. The construction of this, obviously it's kind of plasticky, but it feels good. It feels solid. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like they skimped on any part of it. The design itself is relatively nice. The packaging it comes in is pretty good. All of the little components kind of tie in to make this a pretty fun experience. 2, the blind box element. Gambling's kind of an interesting thing. It's definitely taken a precedent in today's society, and I don't really know exactly why that is. I've not pondered it as much as I probably could, but there is an element of intrigue and surprise. I don't know what I'm going to get, and there's a multitude of different patterns, of different designs of the Kodak Charmera. Each of them have their own unique quality to it, which provides a very fun experience. And if you're one of the lucky ones that gets the mystery one, that's something else to be more excited about. So when you buy it, not only are you excited about the prospect of getting one, you're also excited about what it could possibly be. Shit, I got the cool one. Nice. This is the one that everybody was hoping for. 3, the aesthetics of this. We're going to talk about the size of it, first of all, because it is very, very small, which means it's very pocketable, which means you can put it on your keychain, which is kind of the design behind this. It can go with you anywhere. This one especially has a very vintage aesthetic charm to it, which, again, in the day and age we live in, so much of our consumer habits are predicated on aesthetics. Does this match my brand, my personal brand or preference of how things look? Yes or no? Yes, I want to purchase it. No, I'll wait till I find something that does. And that kind of ties into the recent rebranding of some Kodak film, such as the Kodacolor 100 and 200. Jury is still out as to what these are going to be. I will have a video coming out on that soon, so subscribe so you don't miss out. But before that happens, we don't know. We just know that these are 2 new films, and they have really stylized themselves off of the vintage retro looks of Kodacolor films in the past. And that's cool. People will buy it for that. It looks good. That's all that matters. And the film itself is probably going to be very good because Kodak color film typically is. It's the packaging that really makes the sale. The aesthetics really do matter. They carry a lot of water in this situation. And with this, the cute aesthetics of this mean that it's going to be a very successful camera. It has passed the girlfriend test. She saw this, she loved it. She wants to get some for her cousins. That's a win, right? It has a level of excitement, of interest, of originality to it. It has the aesthetics to match, and it has an accessible price and accessibility in terms of its ease of use. There are obviously things like the filters and things like the frames and all this other stuff which kind of create a more unique experience. It's not just some crappy little digicam with a bad sensor. It's pretty good, actually, and it does offer enough elements of creativity. It offers enough elements of quality to make it a good purchase. It's not $30 down the toilet. It's $30 that I'm not super upset that I spent. And I think it plays back into the original point of Kodak, which is accessibility for people who might not know the most about certain things, about how to take photos. They don't know like the exposure triangle, nor should they. They just want to capture fun little memories with their friends and family. And this, I feel like, is the next evolution of that moment. But the main point to all of this is the Kodacolor rebranding of certain things is creating momentum for Kodak. It is flooding the headlines with new information about Kodak, about their recent successes, about the rebrand, the vintage aesthetics, and not about the Q2 quarterly results. This is revitalizing them because they cannot make these fast enough. They're selling out like hotcakes. They are a major success because they're reestablishing the brand with the wider audience. 90% of people, 99% of people do not care if Kodak is making electrodes. I kind of care because I want Kodak to be successful. I want them to be in business for a long time because I want to shoot their film forever. Nobody really cares about it, and they shouldn't. And they shouldn't. They should not care about that. That's too much. But this is easy. This is an easy thing to care about. Aesthetics are an easy thing to care about. That's simple. That's straightforward. I can see that. This is fun. I can see the quality of this. I don't want to talk about the electrodes. I don't want to talk about their saline solutions. I don't want to talk about any of that. I just want the fun stuff, right? That is where they're going to reach the most success, is by appealing to the wider general audience, not like the die-hard people who, no matter what, I'm going to buy the next thing because I'm going to make a video about it, or because, it's Kodak and I want to support them, whatever. This is a way to bring in the average audience member, a very wide group of people who want the experience of capturing things not on their phone anymore, but on a different thing, and they want that aesthetic, they want that vintage feel. This is a great avenue in which to do that. It's affordable, it's accessible, it has elements of fun. You don't know which one you're going to get, so there's that element of excitement, there's that element of joy. They're really easy to use. I think Kodak is going to save itself in terms of its business decisions. Jim Continenza seems like he's a pretty smart guy. I mean, he was smart enough to sell a bunch of stocks, maybe before he probably should have, allegedly. But he seems like a smart guy. He's riding the ship. Things are being done. Kodak will probably remain in business for a long time to come. The bigger concern is, how is it going to live on in the eyes and the hands of the people who consume their products? Is it going to just be, cool, I guess it's a chemical company now? With stuff like this, and with stuff like their fashion lineup in the Korean market, I think Kodak's going to be around for a while. I think it's going to continue to play into these vintage themes, continue to remind people why we like to take photos, why we like to capture these memories, and give us affordable means in which to do that. So for all those reasons, I think things like this can really save Kodak. I think it reintroduces it into the hands of the next era of consumers, of people who want to take photos. It can inspire people, it can motivate people, and it can give them the tools in which they need to capture those memories. This is not going to be the best camera of all time. The photos are fun. Surprisingly, the video quality is actually not that bad, I don't think. And for $30, you really can't complain too much. And for the size that it is, it's pretty nice. So, not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it is going to appeal to a wide group of consumers that will be happy to spend money on it. And for that, I think it's worth talking about, it's worth acknowledging, and it's worth celebrating. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Like it if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, and check out my upcoming video on the Kodacolor 100 Kodacolor 200 film, and we'll find out what it actually is. Thank you again, and I will catch you on the next one.